Hello there. Once again, we are back on the Ultimate Sports Network. This is Real Boxing Talk. We are talking about boxing and real boxing, and I really need to figure out a way to start the show. Anyhow, we've got a couple of things that are last week, this week, and then something that I don't know if it's a blockbuster, but it seems like a blockbuster to me. Anyway, let's start with Joe Smith Jr. and the fact that now he is calling people out. Charles, what do you think about that fight and then where he's headed?
Well, I mean, Joe Smith Jr. just came in and did what he had to do, right? Because the guy was a replacement. So he handled his business. The one thing about it that I think was ironic is the factor that, and you do what you got to do. They wanted to have an event still in the show. I think his opponent took the fight, like what, on 9 days notice? Right. Something to that effect. So, I mean, what could you really expect? You really wanted to see was Joe Smith Jr. going to rise up, do what he did. And he took his time a little bit. Was it 5th round, ended up really getting to him and then eventually putting him down in near the 9th or something to that effect. So he handled the business. And now I'm interested to see though, because it's like, you know, we throw these names out here and I'm not saying they're not capable, but it's time to take a step. I know, you know, we talk about that too. I know John mentioned about, was it Jared Anderson? You know, he's 11-0, something like that too. But at some point we know in this boxing game and almost anything else, you want to see these guys challenged. So I think Joe Smith Jr. was major, stepped up, handled his business. But now it's like to either take a step and jump into not so much the deep waters, but face somebody that's going to challenge him. I'm not saying he hasn't done that before, but I think it's time as boxing fans and other people, we're ready to see some challenges and we want to see these guys start to really earn their keep against quality opponents.
John, did he show us anything, or did he need to show us anything? I mean, he just came in and took care of business, but is that something when, okay, look, we need to see something from you, even if it's a quality opponent, not what you're used to. You know, what are you going to show us that's going to tell us we're moving up?
Yeah, he did just what Charles said. He did what he had to do, but also there was always the fear in the unknown when you fight an unknown. You don't quite know what he's going to do, and the guy fought more, to me at least, fought more like a sparring partner. I mean, he took massive cojones to get in there and fight Joe Smith, and I think the minute he felt his power, he thought, oh, I'm going to just lay back and try to catch him and try to counter him, and that wasn't going to win. Yeah, so you can't beat Joe Smith that way. When I seen him get beat, you got to meet him head on, and that obviously is going to take something, and you got to make him stop because he's relentless. He's not very fast or anything like that. His footwork isn't that great, but he's really got power in both hands, and it's that thudding kind of power. I mean, just ask Bernard Hopkins, got knocked right out of the ring when he got hit by those shots. So what he showed to me that I liked personally was that he keeps talking about how he needs to improve. And, you know, I like to hear that. I like it when a guy isn't so full of himself that he thinks, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he tried to box a little bit. Not that that's his game, but it shows you that he knows that if he goes up to fight those guys, because he fought Dimitri Bivol already. And he basically lost about 10 rounds out of 12 when he fought Bivol. He got outboxed, and then he hurt Bivol late. And he took like he will, because he's got that power. It's somewhat similar to Deontay Wilder. He's always in the fight, you know. Right. He took a lot of shots, so I mean, so he's been working on his defense, which is good because it's a little leaky sometimes. So to me, watching him close, I've seen probably 7 or 8 of his fights. So he was sharp. He didn't have a letdown after the Callum Johnson fell out due to COVID. So he showed that he showed that he's got ability, and we already knew that. So this is a hard question. But he wants the top guys, and that's good. He wants them. He said he'll fight Canelo. If Canelo wants to move up, everybody wants to fight Canelo because it's where all the money is.
Money is right, yeah.
Bivol, he wants a rematch. The best fight would be him against Beterbiev because they just walk in the center of the ring and just start punching at each other and throwing jabs. And he'd have to do a lot more because Beterbiev is also very heavy-handed. So he did his thing. He won by stoppage. It was impressive. He's an impressive guy just because he's a Rocky-esque kind of guy in a sense that a lot of people never even thought he would make it to where he is, especially after he lost 2 in a row. So he showed you that he's a very resilient guy, and he's never going to be somebody that you can completely count out.
Well, speaking of guys that are impressive, and well, I don't know if they're impressive or not. We haven't seen him in a while, and I don't want to belabor that. But you got Gary Russell Jr. coming up this weekend. Charles, what can we expect from Gary Russell Jr.? Because we're hearing the banter back and forth of, I'm going to do this too, I'm going to do that too. It's like, well, you can't hit what you can't see, So, what do we expect?
Well, I think you're going to see him come in because he's a veteran, right? He's the guy that's been around. He fought some of the top guys, and Masayo is a guy that's, he's been around a little bit, and he has an unblemished record, right? Coming in ready, fighting the top veteran, and he wants to show the world that this is my shot. But Gary Russell Jr. is a slick dude, man. Plus, he can fight. I mean, let's not take that anything away from him. The fights against, Lomachenko says a lot, and then him winning the other fights too, it just shows you what kind of fighter he is. But I think he's going to come in. He's probably going to check, see where the temperature is on his opponent. And Gary Russell's going to go, okay, now I got your temperature. You're engaging the temperature. And we're going to see what you're really about. You just running your mouth and you got a few heavy hands, but we're going to take you to the edge of the bridge and see you're going to be ready to fight when we get deep into the deep waters. So with all that being said, I think he's going to check him out, test him a little bit, and then he's going to push him and to see if he's ready for the big time. Because again, when we have these fighters coming up, not saying you're not proving on one level or another, because anybody that's undefeated has done something, right? But when you take that next step, then we want to find out really what you're made of. And I think a guy like Gary Russell Jr., his opponent is going to have to bring it, because right now he's an underdog, and one guy's proven, really proven, and hasn't been in the ring for a while. Plus, Gary Russell Jr. wants to kind of show us, I'm still that guy. Yeah, he still wants to show he still has it. And with that being said, he's going to come forward. So I think his opponent has an uphill battle. Not saying it can't be done, but he has a lot of work to do to prove that he can really maintain and bang with the likes of Gary Russell Jr.
John, is this going to be one of those, I'm going to put work in, I'm going to showcase what I got, or I'm just going to go and wipe this guy out as quickly as I can? What is Gary Russell going to do, you think?
Normally, he just goes in there and just beats up guys. He seemed a little fed up with the question of why do you only fight once a year? He said, I'd fight more, but I call guys out and nobody answers the phone.
Right.
Now, I've never heard them say that before, so I'm not going to say he's not telling the truth. He probably is. I'm sure a number of guys are like, I don't want to fight you. You're too good. Because Maxeo is going to see that he might have been preparing for Gary Russell, but you don't prepare for a guy like him because he's too fast. You really can't find somebody to emulate his speed, his foot speed, his hand, unless he brought Lomachenko in to help him get ready. I mean, that would be the similarity. But he never fought anybody like Gary Russell, and Gary Russell has definitely fought guys like Maxeo. Maxeo is idolized Manny Pacquiao. He's a Filipino fighter. He's got some power. If you watch his last fight, that was do or die for him. He knocked the guy down in the first. Then the guy came back and knocked him down, and the fight was very close. And then he just knocked him out cold. One of the knockouts of the year last year. So he showed that he's got power. He also showed that he's got flaws. And Gary Russell will figure that out quickly, I'm assuming. The guy Maxeo has a good left hook, so Gary's got to be careful of that. But I think he might be a little more aggressive this time, Frank, just because he's trying to it's like Shakur Stevenson when he fought Jamal Herring, remember? And people, he's boring, and then he was more aggressive. And what did he do? He won by stoppage. There is some possibility, because Gary doesn't do that very often. I think if he gets Maxeo hurt, he might go for it more than he normally would, just to say, all right, what do you want to call me? One a year, Gary, whatever you want to call me, I'm the guy. So, like it or not, I'm not going anywhere. So, like Charles said, he's going to make a statement that way. I mean, he's going to win unless he gets caught. Basically, that's how it is. And he had a little problem. His dad was in the hospital, so he kind of trained himself. He said, which can be a problem sometimes. But he's an old veteran, so I'm expecting him to be dominant and be himself. But there are always in boxing, there's little intangibles. He's the younger guy by 7 years. Guy's got power. He's very motivated. Maybe Gary might be a little distracted. When you're a little distracted in boxing, because it just takes that little millisecond, you get caught. So we'll have to see.
Well, I think he's irritated. I think he's tired of the talk. He's like, I think he's going to come out and take care of business and take care of business hard. Then he's irritated. It's like, I've proven all that I need to prove. What else do you guys want? Oh, okay. You want some more? I'll show you some more. That's what I think is going to happen. All right, now this is going to be a grab bag. You guys choose what you want of things that are speculated, things that might even be actually on paper. All right, so we've got Valdez Stevenson. We've got Donaire Inoue. Those are the two. So, Charles, you choose which one you think is either going to happen or you want to see happen.
Definitely Valdez Stevenson. Because of the factor that, that's what Shakur I've been talking about for a while. That's the fight he wanted to kind of prove to everybody for the belts, put it out there, and then he wins that, and then he'll be able to take this next step to go up further, whatever he wants to do. So I think that's something he's been waiting on. And then I think it's something that Valdez really probably deep down inside goes, you know what? I don't know what else I can do. And two, let's be real. Top Rank knows that, they kind of, they lost, you lose your top guy, one of your top guys. You got to put something on the table so they can make some money. And with that being said, this fight will make money because everybody wants to see Shakur, and then you want to see him against a guy that is legit. If he can't go up right now, let's put him in here. So I think that's the fight that I'm looking for right now, just because it makes sense. And finally, we're getting something that people want to see. And I think that's key because hopefully this is opening the door for so many other great things that can happen the rest of this year.
Well, this goes back to Gary Russell Jr. fight. But the guy's fighting is undefeated. And this is what we didn't understand, at least I didn't, with Valdez against Purcell. Like, well, but yeah, Purcell, he's the champion. He's done this, but this guy's undefeated. And he knows he's undefeated. He came out and whipped some butt. Not saying it's going to happen in that fight, but I'm just saying, I think in this fight, if this does come off, which sounds like it's going to, it's going to be promoted by the masses as Shakur Stevenson versus this guy. I still don't think Valdez has gotten credit for that win. I still don't think so by the people. So Valdez is going to have that, geez, I got to put another chip on my shoulder? All right, let's go. All right, so John, you're left with the Monster versus Donaire in a rematch of rematches.
Yeah, and also I heard there's talk with Cambosis against Lumpkin going Australia, so that also would be fun. I'm not a big fan of this. I mean, I know it's going to happen because it's going to happen. Donaire wants it really bad. I love his competitive spirit. He's pushing 40. He really was very close to being stopped in the first fight. He did an incredible job to come back. I mean, he's so loaded with heart, like so many boxers. I don't really think it's necessary, but they're going to do it because it's money again. That's what it is. They're prize fighters, and they know they can get the most money if they fight each other. So of course I'll watch it and everything, but the Monster, it's like we were just saying, the Monster has to lower his game a little, and Donaire just has to find lightning in the bottle one more time. That's tough. That's why the Stevenson fight and the Valdez fight is more intriguing, because that's one we've wanted for so long. We've been talking about that. This is just because the first fight was so good. So I understand it logically. I understand it money-wise. Was I talking about to anybody that would listen if I wanted to see it? No. As I think I've said consistently, I'm like that about it. But it's going to happen undoubtedly because Donaire keeps pushing. He's got Charles's main man, his best friend, his guy, his bro, Richard Schaefer, handling everything. So Richard's going to give him what he wants, and because that's Richard. So yeah, Richard, I want him in my corner, So he's going to get it. Will he regret it? Probably, but we're going to get it regardless. And that's. But again, at least they're trying to give make matchups that we want, even though I might not want that one. A lot of people do. So I think they heard us and everyone else where we said, look, you got to make some good fights this year. You can't make these crappy fights. And I think they're trying to do it.
And we called out Richard Schaefer. So, and he's doing something. So, or Charles called out Richard Schaefer. Let me just put it that. Now, Charles, looking at, let's just go to that fight. We understand that Inoue is the monster. We understand that Donaire is maybe past his prime, but doesn't mean he still can't fight. What's left for Inoue to prove? What's he have to do? And not just this fight, because we're talking, pound for pound. We're talking best in the division. We're talking maybe one of the best all time in that division. He's just wiping people out. Is it that he's going to have to move up after this fight? Is this the best fight for him only because there's nobody else for him to fight? This is an odd thing because A, we don't talk about the lower weights that much, and B, this guy seems indestructible. So, we kind of said the same about Lomachenko. So, who knows? But what happens? Does he have to move up after this?
Yeah, well, I think it depends on what he wants, right? I mean, you can stay right where you at, and you can be just wait for somebody else to come for you, and you're gonna still have that title of the monster and take on all comers, and you can clear that out, and you just wait. But if you really want to test yourself, you really want to be a household name to really earn that title where you belong and pound for pound, I think you got to move up. I mean, he's taking this fight because it's a moneymaker, right? Donaire, when you put that name out there, people know what Donaire brings or used to bring. And Donaire stepped up as he was aging and came back and gave a hell of a fight like Pacquiao did, right? When he came up and stopped, put that down with Keith Thurman. So there's always the chance, but there's also a chance that the guy you facing now, Donaire is gonna look old again, right? And then everybody gonna go, see, you shouldn't even fight him. But you can't walk away from the money. Yeah, you can't walk away from the money. And I get that. I'm not mad at that. I don't want to see it. I said that. I said why, but I know why. But you said, do you want to see it? No, I don't. But I will watch it. But to answer your question, I think Inoue has to move up, man. So I mean, if you're comfortable where you're at, you'll get the little money. Everybody still tell you how great you are. You're the most dominant fighter at your weight, whatever it is, whatever you fight now, 118, smaller, whatever. But if he wants to really go to the next level and receive the respect he's looking for, he got to step up. So maybe he steps up and fights somebody like, off the top of my head, I'm thinking about Fulton, right? You start up somewhere like that. And I think that's solid. But then again, the question is how far you want to go. So you go Fulton and you start going up a little higher for those guys. And if you're really feeling froggy, but you have to do it quick because things are happening real quick, you make some moves and you go, like I told you, Shakur Stevenson, hey. Right. You feel froggy, you got to do it quick though. You feeling froggy, you want that respect. There's a few people up there, just a little bit, but that's two classes that he can come and see. So question is, how good you feel about it. Also too, his handlers, his promoters, the organizers, what are they thinking? Because maybe they say, we can make enough money, you can live pretty well, don't have to worry about it, your family's taken care of, and then you can really walk away pretty much unscathed, right? In your little bubble. Some people like staying in their bubble because it's comfortable. But there are others that go, I'm gonna risk it, I'm gonna step up. So question is, what does he want to do? And if he wants to go one way or stay where he is, that's how you get to the greatness level.
Okay, well, we've got a couple other ones that are coming up. Well, we got Leo Santa Cruz. You guys can decide on what to do with that. I believe I read something that they've I don't know if they finalized it. Josh Taylor. Looks like something's happening there. There's some movement there. So, John, let's go with one of those two. Which do you like of the speculation and the actual fight?
Josh Taylor, who was the first one you said?
Leo Santa Cruz, who is on the card, I believe, this weekend.
Leo's fighting on the 5th, and he's fighting Michael Carvajal's cousin, nephew or something. There's so many problems with the Carvajal family. It's his brother's son, so it's his nephew, right? He's fighting him. He's pretty good. Leo said that he'll stay at 126 if he wins this, and that's where Navarrete is.
Right.
That's where a guy just saw last week. That's where Ray Vargas is. That's where Josh Warrington is. That's where Kiko Martinez is. Kid Galahad. So 126. See that when you were talking about Inoue, that's what I was thinking. See, Inoue goes up, beats Stephen Fulton. If he does, Fulton is a tough dude. So
right.
Then he goes up to 126. I think that's as big as he can get because he's got a pretty small frame, but he's got a lot of challenges at 126. So, yeah, I like that. The speculation of these fights and it drives you crazy because you get a little excited about it and then they fall through. But Tyson Fury, I'm jumping here, but Tyson Fury, Dillian White's been going on and on and on. And I remember a friend of mine saying, because he's Dillian White's mad, right? Because it's an 80-20 split. I remember a friend of mine saying, look, I get it, you want money, but if you want that title so bad, why don't you believe in yourself? Take the low money. Because if you win,
then you dictate what happens in the next fight. Right.
Right. So come on, man.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of talk, a lot of pandemics still going around, which makes everything scary. Like we have a countdown for fights coming up, and I'm just sometimes just waiting for somebody to catch COVID because it's happening so much. And so, yeah, I just have my fingers crossed, obviously, for a much bigger picture for that dumb disease thing, sickness to go away. But yeah, with the fights, yeah, there's some good ones, and hopefully they get made.
Well, Charles, if anything's been talked about there, what jumps out at you? Josh Warrington has got to get back up on the horse, I think. Santa Cruz, we've been talking about the Wheel of Santa Cruz for years now. Again, there's a lot in there. I guess some of it's speculation, but some of it's reality of things that we wanted to see. What's on your plate?
I'm probably gonna go off a little cynical because there's two things I want to see, and this part of it started with John because I was like sitting there going like, I don't know who the hell that is. I started doing some research and it started coming to fruition. So one of the things I want to fight, and I think it might come together in April, is Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. I want to see that fight. I think
that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I want to see that in April. So I want to see that. The other thing too is we mentioned about Cambosis Jr., right? And everybody's coming after him because of what he did. Everybody wants to fight in the belts. They mentioned about Tank Davis, that possibility, but Tank Davis is not going to go to Australia because whoever it's going to be, he's probably going to have to go to Australia, right? Which makes sense for Cambosis Jr. I would do the same thing. You want to come see me? You want these belts? Come over here.
I got the belt. I don't care what you think. I've got the belt.
So, that I know Floyd Mayweather in this group is like, hell no, I tell you ain't going over there because they feel like they're better than that. They don't have to go over there because I'm Floyd. I work with Floyd. Anyway, I'm the A side. So he's not going to do that. But the Lomachenko thing I think is great because I would love to see that fight. Lomachenko's like, you want me to come to Australia? I'm good.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, I go over there. Where you want me? You want to fight in the alley? I said,
fight out back. I'll fight a kangaroo. I don't care.
Yeah, as long as you have the belts available, and I can take them when I leave. That's all I care about. So but the X factor here, I want to see that fight. But the X factor is Devin Haney.
Right.
Devin Haney knows, and it's kind of slick, but it's real. Devin Haney's in his group knows they're trying to get them belts because they want to be in that level where they get to the top as quick as possible. Because they're not getting a lot of as much as we like Devin Haney, it's kind of like, and I'm not trying to like he's not a good dude or anything like that, but it's kind of like Crawford. Not everybody's not like going, ooh, yeah, that Devin Haney. Because I think there's some questions. I think some other people can beat him. So they're doing what they have to do. So they'll fight Cambosis. They'll say they'll go to Australia, right? But then again, when a lot of stuff that you're reading, as much as the promoters for Devin Haney are saying, yeah, he deserves this, he deserves that. That's not what the people are saying. The numbers aren't showing that, And I think, unfortunately, Devin Haney's going to have a bigger fight to prove that he's worthwhile to get the people's respect. It is just what it is. So with that being said, they're putting him on the back burner. So the one I really want to see, I love to see Cambosis versus Lomachenko because we know if Lomachenko gets those belts, he'll fight any damn body. And that's what I want to see. I mean, he'll fight anybody and he'll bring it on. And then two, maybe in the interim, get off this real quickly, then it will force Haney to get in the ring with somebody else before he get to the next level. So somebody really good.
And it's, as we mentioned with Gary Ruffin Jr., I think that that Lomachenko is irritated too. Yeah, I lost. Okay, you can say what you want about that. But in his mind, I think he's got reasons for why he lost, and he's pissed off that he lost. It's like, I want to get that back. I don't care if I rematch him. I don't care what it is. I want to go back and get my belts back because I worked hard to get those. And even if he's honest with himself and admits that he didn't fight the best fight, he still wants them back. So he's irritated. I think Josh Warrington is irritated. I don't know whether that's something he can do anything about, but I think he's like, I shouldn't have lost that fight. I didn't come in, whatever it was that I didn't do. And I'm not happy about that. So I think that we're going to see some people, Santa Cruz is another one. We're going to see some people that have been kicked off the mountain. Where's the camera? Kicked off the mountain. They want to get back up because they don't believe that they should have been kicked off. So, John, who is the next guy that's like, because this is why I disagree with you guys about Donaire and Inoue. If it was an immediate rematch, I would have said no. Honestly, I'd agree with you. No, we don't need to see that again. The guy's going to get hurt. But Donaire has come back and fought a couple of times and looked good. Now, not against the same competition, obviously, but it looks like he survived and he can still fight. So I don't think there's any danger to him. I don't think he's going to win, but I don't think there's any complete danger to him that he's going to get hurt. All right, go ahead, Charles.
I was just saying. I feel you, but you go back and watch the first fight, and it's like, and I like. I love Donaire, but some people have your number, and I'm not saying he has his number. He's going to give all he has. He's going to come out, and he might. I'm not saying he can't win, but as quick as I want to put him in the position to go, yeah, I think he has a hell of a shot. I'm just reminded of how old Pacquiao looked in that fight. And I'm sitting there going like, your wife is over here crying. You need to walk away. So I guess that it's not the talent, it's the age. That's all it is. It's the age that makes me, more than anything, I'm nervous for him. I'm scared. Because the one thing he's a fighter, not saying he's scared or anything. He's a tough guy. I like his whole package, the experience that he's had and brought to us. But I don't want to see, one thing about boxing, I don't want to see people get hurt.
I agree with that. No, but using Pacquiao as a reference, we thought he was too old to fight Thurman.
I don't know about that one. I didn't.
Okay, well, John, what do you think?
Well, let me go back to you brought up Warrington and Lomachenko. Let me talk about them. I think what they have in common before they lost was complacency.
Right.
That was what was going on. I think Lomachenko didn't think there was any chance in hell with Teofimo Lopez would beat him. And then Warrington was fighting Lara, right? And he said, "Who's this guy? I'll try to knock him out in the first round." And he did, but he didn't. He got knocked out.
We weren't even sure which Lara it was.
Exactly. Right. So the top 10 now. So I think as weird as it sounds, especially for Warrington, it was the best thing that ever happened to him because he's recharged, he's rejuvenated. And so is Lomachenko. He wants those belts. He wants them back. He wants to say, nope. So, yeah, that works very well. I hear you. I hear what Charles is saying. See, the thing is, when you're older like that, you just get old in the ring. It happens. That's the scary thing about it. And that's what happened to Pacquiao. But that wasn't just him. That was Ugas. Ugas is one of the most underrated fighters in the game. And he could not reach Ugas. He would have needed to be on a ladder to reach Ugas, and then he still would have most likely missed. He didn't have the speed anymore to get him. And Ugas, his wife was crying, Mrs. Pacquiao was crying in the second round. She saw what was going to happen. She could see it coming before a lot of people. So it wasn't just that. It was Ugas. But he also looked old. He looked slower.
Well,
and all that. And that's the fear with Demir, even though he's looked fine, he's a little slower, but the monster, usually a second fight, a rematch is a blowout in boxing history. I can name a number of them, but there are exceptions like Ali Frazier, for example. I'm sure there's others, but usually a second fight, they know each other better. Take Rocky Marciano and Jersey Joe Walcott. First round, boom, out. And then there's plenty others. So that's just a few that I'm throwing out there. But I would expect a similar Donaire and a perhaps better monster, and that's what I'm concerned about too. And the monster be like, you're not going to break my orbital bone in my eye again like you did last time. So it is boxing. It is brutal. That's the way it goes. Just hope that Donaire doesn't get hurt.
I go from there, I go to Dale Graziano. Like, okay, who's going to win this fight? I don't think you ever knew. You had like 17 fights. Like, who's that? I don't know. Who's going to be the dominant fighter? Who's going to do what? So, yeah, I mean, we've talked about, remember the Maloney-Franco fight, the third one, or the second and a half, or whatever you want to call it. And I thought I knew. So, Maloney was dominant the most, but was he? And you guys said, no, Franco actually was more dominant. He just got whacked out in the second fight. It's like, are you sure about that? And we found out in the third fight, yep, that's what it was. So, this is me eating crow. But do you understand that even when the experts, that's YouTube, think that they know what they're talking about, doesn't mean you know what you're talking about. See, I'm just running my mouth. I don't have any say anything at all. So, but when we're looking at where we go from here, this is okay. Charles, I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to be spitting on the camera. Just from what we've talked about in the last half an hour, is this set up to be a good year? Let's think COVID non-related. It looks like we're talking about fighters fighting fighters as opposed to managers and people putting stuff together. Is that accurate, or am I just looking at things differently?
No, I think you're dead on. It has potential to be a great year. It really does. I mean, we talked about before in the past about is it Charlo versus was it Estrada, and stuff like that too. Then we got Chocolatito, my man, coming back. It has a lot. The possible Canelo versus another Charlo. So I think he has with all of the potentials of, and even stuff we didn't talk about today with the Ugas versus Errol Spence Jr. There are a lot of potentially great fights. So I think it's on point where get people out there, these managers and these other folks out the way, and just let us see talent versus talent. And I think you just continue to build, because just a few things that you mentioned with the Stevenson fight, right? And Valdez, that's major. So we keep building on this and building on this. I think we have some major fights. And then some guys, unfortunately, because of what happened with COVID, their hands are being forced, right? Or stuff not going their way. For all that you say that, just look at Terence Crawford. Who you fighting, bro? You being pushed out, you got a lawsuit, and who you turning to? The fight you want, even though you walk away from it, you still can't get. You still can't get that fight. And you can blame whoever you want to, but what you supposed to be the number one pound per pound fight guy, and you still can't get the fight that you want? What the hell is that? So, but I think with that being said, getting back to your point, the current situation, COVID and all this other stuff, is forcing certain guys to have to step to the mic and fight quality opponents.
Okay, well, on that same vein, John, we're looking at guys that have belts. Who is the most underrated or undervalued, or a few of them, belt holders out there right now? I can think of one that Charles has kind of led into, but who are the guys who go, this guy's got a belt and no one really believes in him?
Ugas is the guy who's got a belt, and they try to take it from him.
Right?
The WBA, well, wait, you're not really the champion. He's like, what? I beat Pacquiao. What are you talking about? He is the Rodney Dangerfield of the weight. He doesn't get the respect that he deserves. There's a number of guys that you ask yourself, why don't even I don't even think the Charlos get the respect they deserve, even though they're both champions. They both have had belts for a while. I think most people are like, what? Who? You know, and Dimitri Bivol jumping up to light heavyweight. I don't think he's never even lost a fight. Neither has been. You know, he doesn't get the respect that he deserves. There's a lot of guys that have belts that you wonder why, and is it their team? And this ties into what Charles was saying about Terence Crawford. I mean, his situation is atrocious. He sues Bob Arum for racial bias. Then George Foreman says, no, not Bob Arum. But okay, George, maybe not for you. I don't know. I wasn't there. Were you there? Were you there? That's what I would have said to him. Do you know this? You know Bob Arum, you think. But maybe he's got something against Terence Crawford. Seems like he does with some of those statements he's making.
Right.
Geez, so we don't know. I mean, I know it was like a 20-plus page file that they put in. So that's pretty significant.
Right.
So, going off the top of my head, there are a few, even the guy that's going to fight Charlo again, he's a champion, Brian Costano. Nobody knows him.
There's where I was going to go. Right, yeah.
Yeah, nobody knows him, and he's good.
Yeah.
And when I heard a few years ago he was good, I went, how can a guy named Brian be a good fighter? I've always been prejudiced against guys named Brian because don't mind me. When you go out in the playground and, hey, Brian wants to play.
Brian and Danny want to come over and play some ball. Right?
No. But that Brian is a tough dude, and he's legit. And he gave Charlo hell. So, yeah, he's another one. So there's a number of guys, but that's boxing. And I tend to blame the team. You know, I think their promotional team. A lot of them don't have publicists. They can't afford it. And yeah, exactly. They don't make that kind of money that they can have their own personal publicists like Devin Haney does, and Lomachenko's got Top Rank. And then if Bob Arum's mad at you, he's not going to say anything and help you out. So, yeah, there's a number of them out there.
The email address is petefarmer@. That's who you need to get in touch with.
No doubt.
That's who you need to get in touch with, right? But okay, so Charles, and I don't normally ask the same question, but I'm going to ask the same question. Who is out there that's got a belt, or at least is there, that we look at and go, really? Him?
Oh my God!
I know you were going to say Castano as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like Castano as well, but I'm gonna say, I mean, you think this is a joke, but I think the proof is in the pudding. It's right there. It's Terence Crawford. I'm serious. You think about it. I mean, they literally, when you go to, people were saying Terence Crawford is the best pound for pound fighter in boxing. Okay, got that. We seen him fight, did something nobody else been able to do. Got you. But then at the same time, Bob Arum is like, you know what? I lost on you. I could buy a home in Beverly Hills. And it's like, people are not responding to you. Everybody in Nebraska, your family, and everybody in Nebraska is pulling for you, but nobody's buying your fights.
Right.
So my question is, as great as he is and what he's shown us, why? And
I have no idea. I don't understand. Right.
You discount Pacquiao. I mean, you discount Bob Arum all you want, but the numbers don't lie, bro. The numbers do not lie. The numbers, baby, you can say people stealing the shows and that's why pay-per-view down. That ain't what other people are saying. Other people, pay-per-view's numbers are up. Why is it that Terence Crawford numbers are down, but then most importantly, why is it now you supposed to be the number one showcase talent in all of boxing, ahead of Tyson Fury, ahead of Errol Spence Jr., ahead of everybody. But you are the guy on the outside looking in and cannot dictate who the hell you fight next.
I would be willing to bet if we were to conduct a poll against people that know, they said they'd say, I haven't missed a Terence Crawford fight. People that are casual fans, like, I don't know, which I can't understand. I'll watch this guy or that guy, whatever. Plus, they're always putting these fights on pay-per-view, and they're not. I don't know, compelling enough for pay-per-view in the casual fan's eye, I think, because he's so damn good. This wasn't a fight, you know.
Frank, you might have just, if you don't mind me jumping in there, I think that Terence is not a controversial guy, as we know. He doesn't believe in bashing. He doesn't call out guys. Now, Andre Ward never did that. He didn't believe in it. He used to get on him about it. Why don't you call guys out? Not my style, not my style. You got to let a guy be what he is. Terence, you know, it's weird because usually a guy gets a lot of respect just because he's so good. And he's got some respect, but that doesn't, it's what you said, Frank. People still don't want to watch him. You know, usually when you see a person who's so good at something, like a Tiger Woods or something, you want to watch, even though years ago he would dominate and win by 12 strokes, but you didn't care because it was just, you were watching greatness. So it was okay for most people. I don't know if he lacks charisma. I don't know. His own story is an incredible story. I mean, he's another one of these guys that came up from nothing. So is it, see, I blame him too, Terence, but I also blame Aram. I don't think he sold him right. I don't think he told his story right. I don't think he told it enough. I don't think he pushed hard enough. And then maybe Terence didn't do enough on his part. But, you know, you are what you are. And if he doesn't have any personal charisma, not to be mean here, if he doesn't, he doesn't. I mean, look at Jimmy Connors here, your sport. Jimmy Connors and Yvonne Lendl. Lendl was great, a great tennis player. But everybody's like, that robot, he's got no charisma. I want Connors to whip his butt because he... You know, all that kind of stuff. So maybe there's something to that a little bit with Terence, where other guys, like I said, that are great, but they don't sell out arenas. Again, I say Andre Ward because his fights never tell. They didn't even sell out in Oakland, where he was from. So, but then that aura of how great he was kind of made up for that. I don't know. If I was Terence Crawford, I'd be pulling out what little hair I got left. I'd be pulling out going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Oh, call Charles. Charles will hook it up with Richard Schaefer, and then everything will be good. So maybe, you know, you might, all kidding aside, he hasn't signed with anybody. I think he's trying to do a Canelo. Maybe, even though he's wary, Richard Schaefer would be the man that could. Richard Schaefer would be the man that would be able to at least open some doors. And would go fight in Europe, maybe. You know, go over to Europe and fight. So it's a paradox with Terence Crawford.
That number is 614-865-1218.
777-9311. Call me.
Not some secretary will send you to another person. You get Charles will answer the phone.
Or never mind. I'm not even going there. Forget it. You know where I was going to go. I'm not going to say. Jerome will answer the phone. How's that? Will Morse answer the phone? No, Jerome will answer the phone. Anyhow, it's the thing that I think is so interesting about all of this is that it's laid out there for us. You know, once, and this is what we talked about last year, really the year before. It's a clean slate. And it's even been more cleaned since we're in this, whatever we're in. Whether we go back to another bubble or not, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's just my personal opinion. But all the crap has been wiped away. And they're making fights now. They're making stuff they stripped away, I think, the agents, the promoters, they stripped away a lot of that crap to where I want to fight. You want to fight? I want to fight. You know, again, and I don't know if this is the annual appearance, the Groundhog's Day appearance of Gary Russell Jr., but here it is. Okay, let's enjoy it. You know, and the idea of who's he going to fight now or who's he fighting now, I think that's immaterial because we don't know who he's got on the slate. And that's part of the problem. The guy comes in and wipes out the division, and he's pretty much maxed out his size. You know, will he fight at catch weight? Maybe, I don't know. Will Santa Cruz come down? He'll go up? I don't know. I don't know if that's a good matchup or not. So, okay, let's enjoy him while we can. Let's enjoy the monster while we can, which could be for quite some time. Let's enjoy this what it is. Like when we were talking about Lomachenko before he lost. Let's enjoy Lomachenko for what he does and get him out there with as many people as he can. Oh, he lost? Now let's see if he comes back and really kicks some butt. So, let's enjoy Josh Taylor. Is he going to move up? Can he move up? Should he move up? Let's see what he's got. Charles, there are so many things that we're looking at that are, I think, put out there for us to find. They've got it laid out there, and we talk about what they've already put together. What haven't they put together and we still want?
Wow, that's a lot. The one fight that I would love to see, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but one way or the other, I would love to see Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury and the Wilder. The other one too, I would throw out there, and I don't know what fight, but I'm a student of John now. John got me watching different movies and stuff too. So, but I like to see Conor Ben tested in welterweight at some level. Yep. I don't know who that is. I mean, and there's a lot of fighters that top rank and put from over across the pond have that are like undefeated or they've been saying they're ready to come over. It's time to get them engaged. So, but importantly, Conor Ben, because I've heard a lot about him. I've seen him, when he destroyed Algier, and then also, he fought our favorite beat up guy that you can beat him, you can fight, Granados, that type of thing. So I want to see him challenge. So yeah, he's a main guy I want to see get in the mix with somebody. There's enough at 147. And he may not give you a fight, but maybe somebody, and they won't do it because there's not enough money there, but you want to see it. What about that Boots Ennis, man? Anyway, but I'm just saying.
All right, John, what are we missing, and what are they glossing over? Who needs to be there?
Well, back to Terence just for a second. You hit it, or Charles hit it. Whoever said, you said Josh Taylor. That would be a way for Terence Crawford to get a lot of respect if Josh Taylor moves up and they fight.
Yeah.
Because then you got England selling the fight and the United States. Mm-hmm. And if you're Terence Crawford, you say, he wants to fight me in Wales, where he's from, I'll go there. I'll fight him in Wales. That's fine. If you're worried about decisions when you go to Europe, though, because it's an absolute joke, being honest. So it's scary. It's risky. So when it's hard, it needs somebody, so that would help. But then you maybe you don't go that far. You just say, look, I'll fight him in Vegas. Let's fight in Las Vegas. Let's fight in New York City. Let's go to Barclays Center. We haven't had a fight there in a long time. Let's fight. I mean, I think that would be a great move. Charles stole my thunder. I've been thinking about Boots. I want Boots to fight somebody who's going to push him a little bit to see what happens. And he's going to fight one of these guys eventually. The thing with him is he's a young guy, and all those welterweights are older. So the real acclaimed welterweights are all in their 30s. Like we're going to be talking about Keith Thurman here coming up in a few weeks, and he's 33, and Crawford's 34, and Errol Spence's 32. Boots 26, 24, 26. Can't remember exactly. He's a baby. He's the baby of the group.
Right.
He's 24 actually. So yeah, I want to see that. We were just talking about Jared Anderson. He's intriguing me. I want to see him fight somebody who'll fight him back. I want to see him get clipped. And if he just looks at the guy, and I'll go, okay. If he wobbles a little bit, I'll go, you don't want to see it. That's like real fast. It's like they were pushing Tommy Morrison's son, Trey Morrison. It's like 16-0, right? With 16 knockouts. Well, he's fighting a bunch of hillbillies out in Oklahoma. I mean, not to be mean, but he's still something. Sorry.
I'm somebody, right? Yeah.
Right. So he's fighting. Let's say he's fighting setups. Okay, I'll try to. Well, the minute they put him in with a guy who's even got a little bit of a heartbeat, he gets knocked down, and the fight's called a draw. And I'm watching it. I'm like, this is tied to England when you go there. A draw? Are you kidding me? And then his next fight, he gets knocked out in the first round. So it's like good, because he was never real anyway. That's just that part. Nothing against him as a person, Charles. Just that he was never. I don't like it when they push somebody and they're not that good. It's like Muhammad Ali's grandson again. He's fine. He's a nice kid. I like him. He's very glib and all that, and smart and funny. But they're acting like he's the second coming of the greatest. He's not. And I don't like the phoniness of the whole thing.
Right.
If he's that good, he'll win. He knows no matter what you do, you put him in with a guy 3-0, he should win easy, like his grandfather would have done. He'd knock him out. No, tough, do or die, hurt, hit with the right hands over and over again. Okay. But they build it up so much. Did he ever build up Terence Crawford like that? Because that's top rank again. No.
Nope.
So there you go.
Well, it's interesting to see how it's going to play out, because I think this is going to be the year where we say they're going to put some fights on and we're going to get a chance to enjoy ourselves. So, gentlemen, thank you once again. It has been a pleasure. Folks, we didn't give you any homework for today, so go figure out something on your own. Bye-bye.